Okay. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to tonight's Administration and Finance Committee meeting for Tuesday, February 7th. So thanks to everyone who's joining us virtually, our trustees, our staff, or members of the public who are viewing this on our board's YouTube channel this evening. Absent, we have Trustee Xavier, who's absent this evening. He sends his regrets. And we are still waiting for a few trustees to log in. We don't have yet Trustee Del Rosario, Trustee Valoria, or Trustee Anisha Thomas yet, or the student trustees. So just to remind everyone, if you can please put your devices on mute, that'd be much appreciated. We'll begin with item A2, our opening prayer, found on page 3. So you can please join me in saying the prayer to yourself with your device on mute, beginning with the sign of our faith in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen. Bless us as we gather today for this meeting. Guide our minds and hearts so that we will work for the good of our community and help all your people. Teach us to be generous in our outlook, courageous in the face of difficulty, and wise in our decisions. Father, we praise you forever and ever. Amen. In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen. Item A3, we have our land acknowledgement. We acknowledge our First Nations. This electronic meeting is taking place via teleconference on the sacred territories of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, and we thank them for being stewards of this land. Item A4 is approval of agenda. There's no top sheet. Thank you, Trustee Stefano Piscucci. There's no top sheet this evening. Are there any revisions to tonight's agenda? So hearing none, I know Trustee Stefano Piscucci has already moved tonight's agenda, so thank you very much. Any opposed? Hearing none, carried. Item A4A is the construction progress report. So trustees have a copy of this report on page 4, and Superintendent Matthew Thomas is available if there's any questions. Are there any questions on this report?
Madam Chair, we missed the land acknowledgement.
No, I did the land acknowledgement, but thank you, Trustee Piscucci.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
That's okay. Any questions on item A4A, the construction progress report? So hearing none, item A5, a declaration of interest. Are there any declarations of interest this evening? Hearing none. Item A6 on page 8 is approval of the minutes of the Administration and Finance Committee meeting for January 17th, 2023. So the minutes are there before you. Are there any questions, comments on the January 17th A&F committee meeting minutes? So hearing none. There is business arising from the minutes that are attached, page 14. I just need a motion for approval of the Administration and Finance Committee meeting minutes of January 17th. Thank you, Trustee Bruno Ainica. I see your hand raised. Any opposed? Hearing none, carried. Item B, there's no pastors remarks this evening, no awards and presentations, and item D, there are no delegations this evening. So we now move on to item E1 is regular reports. Item E1A, the Ontario Catholic School Trustees Association report. Trustee Del Rosario's, I believe, not here yet.
Oh, sorry, I'm a little late.
Hello, that's okay.
It's just updating my system.
No worries.
No.
Thank you for joining us this evening. Trustee Del Rosario, do you have an update or report from Oxta this evening?
Not tonight, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
No problem. Item E1B is good news items. Are there any good news items? Hearing none. Item F, there are no updates, information reports from committees for receipts. So we move on to item G1 is student transportation update and service delivery. Starts on page 15 of your agenda package, and I invite Superintendent Matthew Thomas to present the report.
Thank you and good evening. And through the chair, before we present the report, I'm just going to note that I am pleased to announce that Roy Warenga is the new general manager of StopR, and Wendy Dobson, who had previously held the role, has been given an opportunity to take an acting role with the Peel District School Board, and so she has moved on to that role, and we're pleased to have Roy now in the position of General Manager of StopR. So I'm going to invite Roy this evening to present the report, which Trustee Corbett, you've noted already, begins on page 15.
Thank you, Matthew, and to you, Madam Chair. I'm pleased to report the Student Transportation Update and Service Delivery Report. You have it before you. It starts off with driver status. Just want to talk about driver status. That StopR continues to monitor all contracted bus operators through monthly reporting to ensure that we have an adequate number of drivers and spare drivers to operate all of our routes. Our bus operators are reporting that they're seeing an increase in the number of applicants compared to the same time last year. So that's good news that the people are applying once again to be a bus driver. So they continue to recruit, train, and hire new drivers. Compared to almost all other transportation consortia across Ontario, both StopR and STWDSTS are in a very favorable position with respect to the number of drivers available to provide service. I'm pleased to say that StopR has not had to cancel any routes for driver shortages, which is happening in other areas. Bus route delay data. We do track delay information daily. And we've provided a chart illustrating the total number of delays by week and delay time. It's attached as Appendix A, and StopR has also provided a list of the top 3 Dufferin Peel schools that have experienced the most delays in December and January. So I'd like to just move down to Appendix A, if you'd like to draw your attention to that. Appendix A, starting with the busing delays for December 2022. It's a week-by-week report. Keep in mind, it does take into account the Christmas vacation and in December shutdown as well. So it's by week. And looking at December's report, certainly the delays, looking at from November 28th to December 2nd, the 10-minute delays, 15-minute delays, 20-minute delays, relatively low percentage of our overall routes. Keep in mind that there's 1,554 buses out there every day delivering Dufferin Peel students. So what this chart shows you is a week-by-week breakdown of the percentage, the number of 10-minute delays, 15-minute delays, right through to 90. And you can see, starting at the 10-minute, 15-minute delays, it represents about 1.7% of our total runs. So it's although any delay is not good, I'd like to think that those are pretty good numbers, considering the Peel region and the traffic and unforeseen circumstances that happen each day with traffic jams or accidents. So moving on to the next page, it shows most frequent schools for December. St. Sophia, St. Thomas More, and St. Alfred were the ones that had the most delays. And there's a breakdown there by minute delays. Most of them are 12 or 15-minute delays or 20-minute delays. Moving on to January, Appendix A. January, there's a little more action here because of certainly had some more inclement weather. So certainly that certainly has an effect on our delays. So we're seeing a little higher delay percentage in January. And I'd like to note that in the chart for total delays for the week of January 23rd to 27th, we have put an asterisk there. I think it's important to note that on January 25th, late afternoon, there was a really intensive snowstorm. We did run the buses that day. The forecast was for the storm to hit later. It started snowing earlier though. So we had many routes that were really delayed in the afternoon. So that's why you're seeing in this chart at the bottom, why we do see some 45-minute delays, 60-minute delays, 75-minute delays, and 90 delays. That's really as an account of the inclement weather, and in particular, the one day, January the 25th, where we were hit with pretty heavy snow in the afternoon. And moving on, page 20, it's the most frequent schools in January of 2023. And once again, St. Sophia, St. Thomas More, and St. Cecilia. So I'm going to go move back up to the report again. And we'll go back to safety, first-time rider program. Stoppers just recently updated our first-time rider safety parent booklet. This booklet is really designed for parents who are new to busing and students who are new to busing. It's a great resource for anyone, parents who are now enrolling their kindergarten students in our schools. And so we have sent the booklet out to all elementary schools, and there's a copy attached as Appendix B. We've also confirmed the date of next year's first-time rider program. It's going to be on Saturday, August 26, 2023. We may think that's a bit early, but we want to really get the word out there because parents are eager when they enroll their children in kindergarten. So we want to let them know, here's our booklet, and be sure to save that date, August 26. So with your permission, Madam Chairperson, I just will go down to the Appendix B. If I could turn your attention to that on page 21. This is a copy of the booklet that's been sent out to all schools. It's also available on our website. Again, excellent resource for anyone who's new to school busing. So it starts off just a welcome message. It talks about the first-time rider program. You can see here. Parents can also go on our website and view the first-time rider program by video. But we're really excited about next August. It's once again, in-person training. And we really want to, and we did it this year as well, because we had a delay because of COVID for several years. So we're really excited that it's in-person training again. So again, we're going to be working with Dufferin Peel Communications to really work on a communication plan to really get some press releases out there and really try and get everyone out to this important program. The booklet also talks about primary protocol. These are the red tags that go on each student's backpack. If you're in JK to grade 1, it's really to alert school staff when they're putting kids on buses, and also for drivers to pay extra attention to these kids. Let's make sure they're on the right bus. And for the drivers, let's make sure they get off at the right stop. There's also information about the danger zone around the school bus. And we also talk about the bus route numbers. As you know, Stopper, we have a tiered routing strategy. Many of our buses service 2, 3, or 4 schools. So our route signs inside of every window of bus, our buses show that. So it's important parents who are new to busing know their route number. We also talk about, there's some tips here about riding the bus. And this is a really important message here. Stay on the bus, kids are safe in the bus. This is something I'm very proud of, Stopper staff came up with. It's really critical in the afternoon trip home for any new children, especially the first 2 weeks of school. These little vulnerable children, they have to get off at their bus stop. And if they get off at the wrong bus stop, that's not a good thing. So we really want parents to talk to them about, if you're getting off the bus and you're not sure, first of all, if you're not sure you're on the right bus, you're not sure you're at the right stop. If you don't see mom and dad waiting for you at the stop, stay on the bus. You're safe on the bus. Tell the bus driver. So that's a really important message that we started getting out last year, and we really want to carry that through again next year. And the last page is just on inclement weather. As you know, we have 3 weather zones, and there's some good information there for parents who are new to busing as well. So I'll go back up to the report again. It talks about our online safety training. So Stopper is currently promoting our new online safety training. It's ministry funded. It's specific for kids in kindergarten to grade 3 and also kids in grade 4 to 8. There's 2 online programs. They've been really well received. We've delivered them to 30 elementary schools so far, and we will continue to do so throughout the school year until we reach every school. So just in conclusion for this report, both STOPR and STWDSTS, we will continue to monitor all of our bus operators on a monthly basis, just to be sure that they continue to provide safe and secure transportation for our kids. And I just rolled down again, just to draw your attention to Appendix C. I apologize. Appendix C is the brochure that we've sent out to all schools promoting the new online safety training program. And that's different to the First Rider program. This takes place on an ongoing basis throughout the year. So that's the report, and I'm certainly available to answer any questions.
Well, thank you to Superintendent Thomas for the intro, and certainly we extend a very warm welcome to our new General Manager, Roy Warinka. As far as questions go, I do have a speaker list. I have Trustee Stefano Pascucci up first, followed by Trustee Mario Pascucci, Trustee Bruno Ainica, Trustee Daryl D'Souza. Are there any others that would be like to add it to the list? Okay, hearing none, but certainly you can let me know. Trustee Stefano Pascucci, you have the floor.
Thank you very much to you, Madam Chair. Welcome, Roy, to the meetings, I guess. Look forward to hearing from you monthly. Just a couple of questions, or a few questions, to you, Madam Chair. Actually, more of a comment on page 24. There's the picture of the bus with the 3 danger zones. Can we get that sent out, I guess, to staff as well? Can we get that sent out to all our parents, like on the first few days of school, or even if there's communication to parents before school starts? I know parents understand that, you know, they need to stop when they see a stop sign or a bus flashing lights, whatever it is. But on the first few days of school, when everybody's trying to figure out their world and their life, it's things happen. So just wondering if we can get that out there, and even that gray blurb there, tweak it to make it more parent.
Through the chair, sorry, through the chair, I would just note that as part of the back to school communications, we can certainly include information about
Thank you.
this and other aspects of school bus safety.
Yeah, I was just looking at the pictogram, but yeah, anything else you can provide, that'd be great. Thank you.
Yep.
Even with the appendix C there, get that out there as well and have it all together. Next question is through you, Madam Chair, just to either Roy or board staff. If a bus arrives early to a stop, do they pick up the students and wait until they're designated to leave, or do they hang back and wait until they're supposed to show up?
Through you, Madam Chair, I'm pleased to answer that. So every bus driver has a scheduled route with a prescribed time for each stop. And the stop time is critical. The school bus can never be early. It should be running just about on time, or just maybe a minute after that stop time, because everyone counts on that time. So typically what a bus driver would do when they pick up their bus in the morning, they get out there and they sort of what's called stage themselves. They don't go right to the first stop. They check their watch and they stage themselves back a bit, and they start their run. So they arrive at the first stop right on time. And then the way stopper sets these up, if you hit the first stop on time, you're going to hit the rest on time, because they should not be arriving early to a stop, because every parent, especially in the morning, it's down to the minute that you're getting your kids ready, get out the door. We do encourage people to get there early, but inevitably everyone in the morning getting the kids ready, they're counting on that time, and we can't be a minute early. We should be a minute late. And that's how we train our drivers. And that's how we set up our runs. Quite often the first week of school, bus companies will call us back or send us messages. We need to adjust the time on the second or third stop just to get it all working. So no, they should not be arriving early and picking up early.
No, and that's fine. But I guess my question would be, if they arrive early, say for example, they arrive 2-3 minutes early, do they pick up do they show up? So let's call it the second stop. They arrive 2-3 minutes early, for whatever reason, they catch the green light or whatever it is. Do they pick up the students and then wait until they're supposed to leave? I know it causes traffic behind as well, but or do they just hang back, like you said, and wait until they're supposed to be there?
So through you, Madam Chair, a school bus driver, that's on his run every day, gets to know the kids. So if he arrived maybe a minute or two early, he knows he has 3 students. If he has them all, he may proceed. But certainly if he knows he's 2 or 3 minutes early, he doesn't see all the kids. What they should do, they should turn off the overhead lights, let traffic go, and sort of stage themselves again and try and back up a bit to get back on track for the next stop.
And the reason why I'm asking is because, and sorry, Roy, go ahead, continue.
So again, we would ask the driver to sort of realign themselves and set themselves up again, so they're hitting the stops just right on time or a minute late. So if they arrived early at the one, they may have to certainly take the kids on board. But if they're really 2 or 3 minutes early, they know they don't have everyone. They should turn the overhead lights off, pull ahead, or stage
Yes.
thing back again.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. And last question, Madam Chair, if that's okay with you.
Absolutely.
Thank you. I guess again to whoever wants to answer the question. Probably around this time last year when, or maybe not. It was cold. I remember that it was snowing. At that time, I asked, do parents get notified on a regular basis, or can they track the bus if it is running late? The 15-20 minutes late, especially in the rural areas where you have students who are standing on the side of a road at 80 kilometers an hour in the dark in the morning. There was an app that was supposed to be, or we were supposed to start providing the locations of our buses to our parents. Has that happened? I know it was in the planning phase, but I didn't know if it actually got rolled out.
Through you, Madam Chairperson, we are currently piloting that app, and certainly more information to come on that. We really want to make sure it's working. So we are getting close to that, and more to follow on that. But for now, parents can sign up through our website. There's a subscription service. They enroll their child, and they would receive late alerts from the bus company when their bus is running late.
Well, thank you very much for that, and thank you for all the answers, Madam Chair. I'm done. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Stefano Pascucci. Trustee Mario Pascucci, you're next.
Yes, thank you. Thank you and welcome aboard. A question I have to ask is it possible for next meeting, not to cause work right now, but next meeting you named 3 schools, St. Sophia, St. Alfred's, and memory serves, St.
Cecilia.
Not St. Cecilia. There was another one you mentioned in the first batch of names.
St. Sophia.
It was St. Sophia.
Thomas More and St. Alfred.
Yes, Thomas More. Thank you. Yes, St. Thomas More. Could you possibly, in the next report, give me an idea of what's happening with them over the last 3-4 reports? I don't need something created this time here when we're going to recreate, when we're going to work on this next generation of reports. Just if you're going to put those 3 schools together, if you don't mind, because they're all in my area. St. Sophia is, of course, a regional school, and that pulls from a different area. I just wanted to make sure that we're on top of it, if you don't mind. I have a school council meeting tomorrow night I plan to go to at St. Alfred, and I'm sure they're going to be asking me questions. So I don't want to cause a make work projects. In other words, when the report is going to be done next time, could you sort of include this in the report mix? Is it possible?
Through the chair, Trustee Pascucci, I'm just wondering if maybe what we can do is provide a month-by-month summary from the beginning of this school year until end of January, let's say, providing an update on the delays involving those 3 particular schools, then we can certainly get that to you.
I would like that reported back to all trustees because of the St. Sophia being a regional school, of course.
Sure.
But, thank you very much for suggesting, but can we incorporate that into the next report? Is that possible? So this way,
through the chair, we can certainly do that.
We don't have we have a ton of stuff right now. This will be part of the subject mix, if you will, in the report. So, thank you very much for offering and recommending. Thank you, Matthew. That's it. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Trustee Mario Pascucci. Next, I have Trustee Bruno Ainica.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just on the follow-up on Trustee Pascucci's point, I'll be honest with you, I found it very strange that all 3 of those schools, St. Sophia, St. Thomas More, and St. Alfred, were mixed in on that November report, and then St. Sophia and St. Thomas More, and then we added, or St. Cecilia was added, but there was still two consistent schools. And what I find really strange is that those 3 are within a stone throw of each other. Like they're relatively close. And I'm wondering if staff is aware of anything that would have caused it. Is it the same bus that handles, St. Sophia, I think, is a standalone. If my memory serves me correctly, they don't use St. Sophia buses for 2nd and 3rd runs because of where they come and where they pick up from. But St. Thomas More and St. Alfred, I mean, I've been to all 3 of those to deliver stuff, but I can tell you, I found it strange. Is there a rationale for that, or is it just luck? Oh, wow, this unfortunate luck.
Through you, Madam Chairperson, I can add, certainly St. Sophia does draw from a very large area. So we do have buses traveling great distances to get there. So just, the simple math of it is traveling sort of with the traffic flow in from Caledon downwards. So they typically are more apt to be caught in traffic and things like that because the routes are much longer. I mean, that's one thing. That's one explanation. We can certainly, for next report, provide you more detail like that. But that there are, St. Sophia is a later school as well. So in the afternoon, those buses, if they're delayed at the first or second school, they may be delayed getting to St. Sophia for the afternoon run. So those are all types of reasons why we may see that. That's just wanted to add those points.
So through the chair, I'll just add with respect to St. Thomas More and St. Alfred, we'll have to take those ones back to examine if there's a correlation that with respect to those delays having carried forward month to month, because as trustees would be aware, certainly aside from St. Sophia, there are generally different schools in the mix that can be affected by delays at any given month. So we'll just have to take a closer look at that one to see if it was a similar issue that caused delays month to month at both of those schools, or if there were other contributing factors. So leave that with us, please, and we'll be happy to report back.
And Madam Chair, I'm not looking to create additional work on top of the additional work that staff already has, but if in situations where it's the same school pretty well, 2/3 the same school of what was reported in the previous month. If staff is aware, like I'll give you an example. If these were to be St. Timothy, St. Catherine of Siena, and Mary Fix, I would bet dollars to donuts it would be the traffic on Hurontario that caused every delay on every one of these buses, because if anybody ever travels north-south on Hurontario, they would know that it would take you forever and a day to get anywhere up that road in actually since they started the construction, which seems like to be for forever. But if staff is aware of any rationale for it, if they could just put an asterisk and say, we believe that it's due to whatever the scenario. And I think the drivers would know pretty well what the rationale would be, would they not? Or am I off on that one?
Through the chair, it could certainly be that the drivers would be aware, but we also usually would receive inquiries from the schools themselves or comments to indicate that, oh, by the way, bus number 145 has been late 20 minutes for the last few days or the last couple of weeks, what have you. And I get those inquiries quite frequently when there's a pattern, an observable pattern of delays. So in these particular schools, I can't say that I've received inquiries myself or comments or feedback indicating that there's been significant amounts of concern. And again, we're talking primarily about delays that are within the 20-minute range. It's just the frequency of them. So it could just very well be, that there are delays as a result of traffic congestion or what have you. But as I indicated earlier, we'll certainly have staff take a deeper look at that, and we'll be able to report back.
And if I could, Madam Chair, thank you. If I could, Madam Chair, on the flyers that were reported on the young riders, can staff send that to trustees? I think it's important as we're getting closer and closer to Catholic Education Week, and some schools have Journey into Learning during that time. We can publicize that, because I know that the Young Riders program that's been going on for, forever and a day minus the COVID scenario has always been very, very well received. And, if we can advocate on behalf of Stop Bar and our board anyway, about attending the program, I think it would serve everybody well. But could staff forward those pages to trustees?
Through the chair, it'd be our absolute pleasure to do so.
And lastly, Madam Chair, if I could, Roy, you mentioned Trustee Pascucci or one of the Mario or Stefano talked about an app that where parents would be made aware that the bus is late. And I thought I heard you respond that parents can sign up to this. Parents can sign up to obtain notification if the bus is late. Is that the app, or is that going online to Stop R?
So through you, I'm Chairperson, there are two separate things here. What we have available right now for all parents, they can go to our website and they can sign up or subscribe for a subscription. You enter your child's OEN number and you're subscribed, and you can have an alert sent right to your phone when a bus is running late. Our bus companies post those on our website. If you're signed up for a subscription service, it would come right to your phone or text or email address. So that's something that's available now. What we are looking at, though, is taking that a step further in integrating our GPS on the buses to an app that would show a parent in live time where their bus is. And that's something that that we're still working with, and more to follow on that. We're piloting that. Management's looking at that right now. We are looking at launching a pilot later in the year, but we're certainly more to follow on that.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Oh, thank you, Trustee Ainika. I have Trustee Daryl D'Souza followed by Trustee Mario Pascucci. Are there any others that would be like to be added to the list? So hearing none, Trustee D'Souza, you can go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and congratulations, Roy, on your new role.
Thank you very much.
Just two questions. One is these percentages you'll have shown in terms of delays. If you can just throw some light as to how these are calculated.
Yes. So if we could. Just scrolling back here to December. So I'm on page 17, Appendix A for December. So it is broken down. The total runs per day, it's important to understand, are 1,554 buses servicing Dufferin Peel schools every day. So when we calculate the percentage delay, for instance, if you look at the chart, November 28th to December 2nd, that is 5 days. So you would multiply 5 days times 1,554 and then divide that by 134 10-minute delays. And that should give you, represents about 1.7%. So it's important, although there was 134 delays, it's important to put that in perspective against, it's about 7,500 trips. So it works out to about 1.7%.
Okay, makes sense. Thanks, Roy. My next question is, I believe this app was supposed to be available probably more than a year ago, I think 2 years ago. Because when I used to sit in Stop R, it was being discussed. So any reasons why the delay? Because apps today are available like for $500, you can get someone to fix it.
Yeah, through you, Madam Chairperson. Yeah, we have been looking at this for many years, and it ties in directly with our GPS system. And before we can launch an app and give it to our parents, we need to ensure that it's accurate. And so what we're doing is on our GPS system today, when parents call into our office, our staff using the GPS in the bus can actually see the location of that vehicle. And the problem is, though, when there is during COVID, during the driver shortage, when those bus drivers change or there's a driver shortage, the challenge is if the bus company is not updating the GPS on the bus, then we're not getting accurate data. And we need to get to a point where we are 100% certain, 99% that those buses are going to be functioning properly with GPS. And more importantly, they will be linked to their route. And so again, just to explain that, little better. The problem is when in the morning, if a bus doesn't start, the driver is dispatched to a new bus. So they find a new bus and away they go. If the dispatcher doesn't change the GPS link to that new vehicle, we've lost the live tracking of that. So we've been working with our bus companies to ensure that they have processes in place that whenever a bus is changed, it's automatically updated in the GPS system. So that's one issue that we've been working through, and we're coming very close to it. We track our GPS reliability with our operators, weekly. We're going to be, leading up to the app, we're doing it daily. So that's been a big piece of it. The other piece is it's part of just the technology of the app as well and the reliability of it. There has been some upgrades to it. So we feel we should be in a position to launch a pilot, later this school year and hopefully going forward into the new school year. But you're absolutely right. We've been talking about this for many years, but we are very close now to finally launching something, and more to follow. Absolutely. It's a number one priority for StopR.
You just mentioned that it depends on if the driver is moved from bus A to bus B, then that needs to be updated. So is the GPS on the driver's phone or it's in the bus? It should be.
So every bus has a GPS system.
Right. So it has nothing to do with the driver.
Yes, that's correct. So every bus has a GPS system. In every bus, those 1,554 buses servicing Dufferin-Peel schools, every bus is assigned to a run.
Correct.
And the runs are in our bus planner system. That's a separate software. So they're linked and it's done. The problem is if that bus breaks down or the driver's sick and they have to switch that out, if they're switch that out, the bus will run on time. But if they don't update the bus planner system with the new bus number, we've lost our what we call plan to actual tracking. We've lost the tracking. So that's just one piece that we've been working with the operators to ensure there's a process in place where that can be done in a very expedient and efficient manner. And again, 1,500 buses hitting the road in the morning. That's there can be on a cold morning, there could be buses that don't start, and there's a lot happening. It's a very busy time in the dispatch office. Just need to ensure that final piece, the GPS of the bus, is relinked to our bus planner system. So we have that tracking, and then ultimately the app would have the proper tracking.
All right. Thank you. Thanks, Roy. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome. Thank you, Trustee D'Souza. I have Trustee Mario Pascucci, followed by Trustee Bruno Ainica, followed by Trustee Stephanie Pascucci. So Trustee Mario Pascucci, you have the floor.
Thank you. Well, the tag system that Air Canada possibly uses, you can use that to get the bus, find where the bus is. Anyway, so good luck to you. I know they're all over the place, et cetera. I mean, we have, what is there? Is it about the 8th or 10th largest system in the country? Something like that.
Oh, certainly, it's the largest in the province here. The StopR's operation, absolutely, in the country.
Congratulations to you and staff. I appreciate it. What I want to know is regarding St. Sophia. How did the issue regarding Ukrainian students arriving? What impact and how do we adjust our needs to ensure that they're being covered by bus if they're entitled to a bus?
Through you, Madam Chairperson. The busing for St. Sophia that I'm aware of, that we have successfully transported anyone who is eligible, and I'm not aware of any outstanding issues with the Ukrainian refugees. No.
The reason I ask is there was a large number of students showed up, and then they went to different schools around the jurisdiction, et cetera, because of a lot of students showing up at the same time. So I want to make sure that the Ukrainian community where we meet their needs, recognizing that we try to work within what we have, of course. Thank you.
And I'll just add through the chair that once we have students registered and they're in our student information system, that information is downloaded on a regular basis to StopR, so that they collect that information. They know who eligible students are for a student transportation, and they're set up immediately.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Recognizing that, the last question here, recognizing that we have delays going to school, what's it like going home? Do we have delays going home, or of course the traffic patterns have changed substantially coming into work versus going out to work?
Yeah,
Are there delays getting home, so to speak?
and these delays that we presented here would be both the AM and the PM. It's
Okay.
basically a week, so that's something we could also look at. But these current delays represent both AM and PM.
Only to look at it if I may, just if it makes sense to look at it. I don't want to waste time, just for additional information that may just not add to the mix. But thank you very much for what you're doing, and please thank the system.
Thank you, Trustee Mario Piscucci. I have Trustee Bruno Ainica next.
Madam Chair, quick question. The Young Writers Program, that's not just JKSK, correct? It could be any child that attends
Absolutely.
Dufferin Peel.
In fact, we encourage all students to take it because, let's face it, even if you walk to school, you're going to ride a bus on a charter someday to the downtown Toronto or something. So we encourage everyone. We're not going to turn anyone away, and it's a great program.
It is. I would agree wholeheartedly. Thanks, Roy.
Thank you, Trustee Ainica. I have Trustee Stefano Piscucci.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Sorry, just 1 second, please. Sorry about that. 2 questions, if it's okay with you, Madam Chair.
Of course.
Back to the app. So sorry, did you mention it's an email or they get a text when regarding delays?
So again,
sorry, not the app, but the notification program you guys have.
Yep, the subscription service is a notification that you can sign up for, and you can enter your email or a text.
Okay, perfect. So they can get either one or both?
That's correct. Yeah, and you have your
Beautiful.
choice when you sign up.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. The next question is, I was at one of my school council meetings, and they were trying to schedule or set up a ski trip for their kids, and they mentioned that they were having a lot of issues trying to secure a bus for to start preschool runs. So before the schools actually start the runs, or close to when schools are supposed to start. Is there something that we have with our service providers, or are you guys able to stop or to help out with that? Because they actually had to charter a bus, which increased the cost significantly to the school.
Through you, Madam Chairperson. So charters, we certainly, our bus companies, their first priority is home to school transportation. They also operate a fleet of charter buses. I can tell you that if the charter fits within the school day, there's a very economical price for that. We make sure that they give the school a very good deal if they can use the bus within the school hours. Because we need the bus for home to school. So there's a great bargain there. But when you need the bus to take kids away where it's going to exceed the bell times and we can't use the bus, they're going to charge more for that. It's a dedicated driver, then there's more cost to that. So unfortunately, there is a greater cost to that.
It wasn't even the cost. The issue was that they couldn't even get
availability.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think in Ontario right now, with the driver shortage, I can tell you that our contractors are committed to home to school transportation for us.
Okay.
I've talked to operators who in our monthly meetings are saying, you know what, we can't even we're not even doing charters now. All their drivers are committed to this. So I'm not surprised. It's unfortunate. It can only get better. But right now, I can tell you there's areas in Ontario that there's no charter buses at all. We're doing much better than many others, but we're not perfect either. We're not there's not a surplus of drivers. So unfortunately, I've heard that too, where operators are saying, I'm sorry, I just can't take any charters. We need to make sure we're committed to get the kids to school.
Okay, well, I appreciate the answer. Thank you very much. And I'll relay it to the school. Thank you, Roy, and thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Trustee Piscucci. Are there any others that would like to ask a question? Hearing none. So we move on to item G2 is transportation reassessments for 2023-2024 school year, starting on page 28 of your agenda. And I invite Superintendent Matthew Thomas to present the G2 report.
Thank you. Through the chair, this report again begins on page 28 of your agenda package. And it's purpose is to provide an update on proposed transportation reassessments that would become effective as of September 2023 at St. Jacinta Marteau Catholic Elementary School and St. Edmund Campion Secondary School, both in Brampton. And I'm going to ask General Manager Waringa to present the rest of the report. But just before I do, I'll just note that reassessments are part of STOPR's annual staff planning process when they look at a number of different factors that may impact eligibility for transportation for students to selected schools across our Duff and Peel schools for a number of reasons. And these reasons could include completion of pedestrian accesses such as sidewalks or walkways that were not previously in place. And as a result, students would have had to have been transported by bus to their schools, revisions to school attendance boundaries or program boundaries, implementation of a new crossing guard location by the local municipality, new roadways or new traffic control devices that are installed by municipalities, changes in speed limits, and other eligible circumstances or anomalies identified by STOPR staff that are no longer accurate and require adjustment. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to General Manager Waringa to present the rest of the report with the details of the two reassessments being proposed.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Chairperson. Further to Matthew's comments, we're looking at, we have two transportation reassessments for Duff and Peel this year. Number one is St. Jacinta Marteau Catholic Elementary School, and there is Appendix A we've attached to show, to better illustrate the reassessment. Just basically some background before we turn to the appendix. Since the opening of St. Jacinta Marteau in September 2018, temporary transportation has been provided to approximately 30 students living south of Queen, east of Credit View area. And it was really due to the amount of construction in the area, the roadway infrastructure at that time, and we really didn't feel it met our criteria for a safe walking route for parents or kids. So we did provide them temporary transportation. So this is one of the reasons we revisit this. We're revisiting because construction along Queen Street to widen the street to 5 lanes, install new sidewalks, that's now completed, along with upgrading the intersection at Credit View Road with a pedestrian crossing and traffic control devices. So as such, STOPR has now informed school administration that in writing that the transportation for these 30 students will be reassessed based on the existing safety criteria in the area to determine if temporary busing should be removed or it should stay in for another year. So the reassessment will include safety inspections by STOPR staff and the Brampton Safety Council. These safety inspections will be completed by the end of March 2023. Once completed, STOPR will provide written follow-up regarding the results of the reassessment to all affected families, school administration, and trustees in the spring of 2023. Any changes to transportation eligibility because of this reassessment would not be implemented until at least September 2023. So if you'd like to just move down to the Appendix A, there's this is out of our bus planner system. You can see the school in pink. The yellow is the boundary area, and the circle at Queen Street there, if you look just at Queen and south of Queen and east of Credit View, it's those students there that are receiving temporary busing, and they're within the 1 kilometer, 1.6 kilometer zone for elementary kids. So that's the area that we are looking at. We're also looking at, I'm going back to the report again, to St. Edmund Campion Catholic School, secondary school. Appendix B will better illustrate the reassessment, but basically the transportation eligibility distance for secondary school students is 3.8 kilometers. It's measured using STOPR's bus planner software. And the measurement of the walking distance is taken from the closest property line of the student's address to the closest property line of the school. So an anomaly was detected in our system where the rear property line access point at St. Edmund Campion within our bus planner system was not being used. And so kids were not being accurately measured. So attached Appendix B is a map showing the area. So if we move to that area now, Appendix B, page 31, there is a inset. It shows a blow up of the area that we're talking about. So those little red dots around the school, those are nodes that are in our bus planner system that we measure outward from to residents. And the node at the back property line was missing, and therefore kids were not being measured properly. So we're as part of our reassessment, we would put that back in, we would remeasure, and as a result, there's approximately 34 students currently that are receiving busing that are really not eligible. So as part of our reassessment, we would also notify the school that we're doing this, that we're looking at this. We're reassessing it, looking at the walking routes, and again, any changes that we put in place would not take effect until September of next year. And there are 34 students who could possibly be affected by this. So that's the report on reassessment. Again, this is something we do throughout the year, looking at to ensure that we have a consistent application of our eligibility measurements and a fair and equitable board policy, making sure that everyone is treated the same. So that is the report. And in conclusion, I just read that as part of its annual review, transportation services across the Walpole region. Stopper staff are proposing reassessments that will remove the existing eligibility for school bus service for some students attending St. Jacinta Marto and St. Edmund Campion beginning September 2023. These adjustments are being made to reflect the completion of a safe walking route for the affected students attending St. Jacinta Marto, and an update to the eligibility home to school measurement distance to the affected students attending St. Edmund Campion. Stopper will be communicating information about these changes to affected families based on the timelines above, and a further update will be provided to the Board of Trustees in the spring of 2023. That is the report, and I'm available for any questions.
Thank you again to General Manager Waringa. I do see Trustee Bruno Inika has a question. Are there any other speakers that would like to be added to the list? Seeing none, go ahead, Trustee Inika.
A quick one, Madam Chair.
Mhm.
What is the total distance differentiation from adding that red dot to where the red dot wasn't? Is it 20 feet, 30 feet? What is that delta?
To you, Madam Chairperson, there is a difference. The exact measurement, it's approximately, you know what, I don't have the exact measurement. I'm estimating it's probably about 100 meters difference that needs to be adjusted, but we can certainly report back the exact distance, but there is an anomaly, a difference, and it needs to be corrected. And I'm estimating, looking at the map and the data here, I'm estimating approximately 100 meters.
Yeah, best guess works for me. If it was going to be, 10 meters, which literally is a stone throw, 100 meters is quite the distance, but I'm assuming, I don't know who represents that area, but I'm assuming that there may be a pushback because all of a sudden, people are not going to gracefully accept something that they've already received for whatever number of years. And then all of a sudden, because we make a mistake, now it creates a significant challenge, for 34 kids. That's all. I mean, the reason I asked the distance is just to one, be curious, but two, what that delta was that's going to create that challenge for some of those kids.
Mm-hmm.
So, thank you, Madam Chair.
You are very welcome. Thank you, Trustee Inika. Are there any other people who have a question? Oh, I see Trustee Del Rosario. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through the chair, I was just wondering, following up through Trustee Inika's question, I had the same concern. Is there a possibility of grandfathering these 34 students? So anybody that's now coming in will not be eligible, but can we grandfather them? Because definitely there will be a pushback.
Through you, Madam Chairperson, certainly what we do have, I can say, is the option of perhaps a courtesy seat. Unfortunately, that's not something that's guaranteed, but that is something that would be certainly part of the correspondence as well. And certainly recognizing it is contentious whenever, you know, someone has transportation and when we correct this. So certainly a courtesy seat was something we could certainly include as part of the correspondence and to make people aware of that as well, if that's possible.
And through the chair, I'll just add to General Manager Waringa's comments to note that we actually considered the exact same scenario you described, Trustee Del Rosario and Trustee Inika, noting that we could anticipate there to be some pushback, certainly. And so I had asked to stop our staff to provide me with an update of the number of students affected, but also potentially siblings, right? And that's another area that we often hear about. So they have provided that information, and we have briefed the trustee who represents the area, Trustee D'Souza, as well. So as General Manager Waringa said, this is an anomaly. It's an error that was detected, and we're just trying to provide consistency in the way that distances are measured and calculated. Having said that, certainly, we are aware that it is contentious.
Mm-hmm. Just a follow-up question, Madam Chair.
Of course.
When are we sending the communication? I think I had that experience before in one of my schools, and when we send out a communication now, it tends to be forgotten. So I think we need to be set up a timeline so the communication will continue and be reminded that come September 2023, these 34 students will no longer be eligible for busing. It's just a reminder. It's just a continuous reminder. I just want to make sure that we do that, because I did had that experience in one of my schools, and it was really a bone of contention. I had to even try it myself, but I think it's just a reminder, just to do a schedule of when to remind them. You may send out a communication now, then schedule another one as we get closer to it. That's just a suggestion from me, based on my experience.
Through the chair, we can absolutely do that.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and welcome, Roy.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Del Rosario. Are there any other questions?
Chair, I just have a question.
Go ahead, Trustee D'Souza.
Through you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to understand, in the communication, are we going to specify that we have 34 students impacted by this change? Or are we just going to say we detected an error and effective September, you will no longer be eligible?
Through you, Madam Chairperson, the communication would be a personalized communication to the family. It would be, because it's by address, so your address is unfortunately no longer eligible due to the reassessment. So it would go to each family a personalized letter.
Right. No, I understand. I understand it's not going to be a generic letter. It will be addressed to Mr. or Trustee Daryl D'Souza. I understand that.
Yes.
I just want to make sure that we would not be specifying that there is this error detected has impacted 34 families, because if you do that, then they will go and search for the 34 families and come out with the 34 families to protest. That's what I mean. So if you say specifically that, yes, we've detected an error and you or your family is not eligible for transportation based on the Ministry of Education's distances for transportation. So I just want to be sure that we do not specify the number of families impacted. This is just a thought.
So through the chair, I'll just note that usually the communication that goes out following a reassessment is personalized, as General Manager Waringa said, to that family. It doesn't make any reference of any other families or, you know, or any kind of quantum about the number of students who may be impacted.
Perfect. Yeah, that's all I wanted to clarify, because they need to know individually that they are being impacted and not how much the system is being impacted. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Trustee D'Souza. Any other questions? So seeing none, hearing none, we'll move on to item G3, which is the Stop Our Governance Committee minutes, November 18th, 2022, which starts on page 32 of your agenda package. And I invite Superintendent Matthew Thomas to present the report.
Through the chair, I just leave the Stop Our update for the reading of trustees. Information is contained. We usually respond if there are any particular questions that trustees might have. General Manager Waringa and I are happy to do that at this time.
Excellent. Are there any questions of staff on item G3? Hearing none, seeing none. Thank you, Superintendent Thomas and General Manager Waringa. Item G4, interim financial report for the 4 months ending December 31st, 2022, starts on page 37, I believe, and I invite Superintendent Brian Hester to present the report.
Good evening, and thank you, Madam Chair. Through you, I'm pleased to bring you the first interim financial report for our current fiscal year, 2022-2023, which covers the 4 months from September 1st, 2022 to December 31st, 2022. And as identified, the report begins on page 37. The report is in a consistent format with our prior period reporting. And I'll just make some highlights of the report. To start off, we'll note that we are measuring actuals against our budget based on the revised estimates information presented back in the December board meeting. Revised estimates reporting was projecting at the time a $55.7 million deficit for the year, and that is impacted, as we discussed quite heavily, by our long-term disability plan. On the report specifics, I'll just highlight 3 areas of the report. First, we talk about financial information. Our target for this point in the year is about 33.3% spent as of December 31st. And our actual operating expenses are currently being reported at 32.8% of that target. So we are very close to target. The report identifies a few categories which are showing a little bit of spending ahead of what we expect as the target, such as our classroom and school office resources. But we are seeing that more and more as a trend now as we continue to tell schools and departments to be conscious of supply chain challenges and to procure things early enough. So we're starting to see some of those things be done ahead of time, which is good for planning for schools to make sure they have enough resources on hand and then give a little more time throughout the year to monitor the rest of their budget. In terms of enrollments, the report compares our original enrollments projected back in the June original estimates of 2022, and then our revised projections in December of 2022. And then on page 40 of the report, in the middle section there, it identifies that our enrollment has gone up by the projection of 492 average daily enrollment. That's just an in-year comparison from, again, from June original estimates to our revised estimates in December. And finally, just for staffing, just to highlight 2 of the components there for the staffing summary reflect increases over original estimates. And again, that ties directly to our enrollment changes and to some of the carryover funds we have from our year-end period. So in conclusion, the report presents our results for the first 4 months of our fiscal year. We are progressing well against our budget targets. Financial Services will continue to monitor our expenses against our budget and will report again when we get to the next 4-month period, which ends April 30th of 2023. So at this point, Madam Chair, I'd be pleased to answer any questions of the board.
Thank you very much, Superintendent Hester. Are there any questions on item G4? Must have been an excellent report. No questions. So thank you very much. We move on to item H1, the 2023-2024 budget development process, starting on page 41. And I invite Executive Superintendent Julie Cherpaka to present the report.
Thank you. And through the chair, this evening I am presenting the budget development process for 2023-24. In the fall, we completed and filed with the ministry financial statements for the 2021-22 year, as well as revised estimates for the 22-23 current year. And now we're focused on the cycle for budget 23-24. Policy 8.50, the annual budget development process, guides our budget development process, which is really a cycle of review, analysis, input, consultation, and calculation. The Grants for Student Needs, or the GSN, is expected by the end of March. We do hope to get it earlier, but should be received by the end of March. The GSN announcement is key in identifying any changes in grants or funding that we would need to be aware of for the coming year. Around that same time frame, we will embark on consultation for stakeholder input. Now, over the last few years, and as a result of COVID restrictions, Dufferin Peel embraced public webcasts and interactive sessions for consultation, which has been very well received across the system. We will continue to use the same format for public consultation this year. In addition, we will have updates regarding consultation options posted to the Dufferin Peel website, including options to delegate at regular board meetings and committee meetings, and an option to submit written input through a communications email, as well as options to communicate through local area trustees. Similar information will be distributed through school newsletters, school messenger, and at Catholic School Council meetings, also through news releases and social media posts. The GSN information and budget reports presented to committees and the Board of Trustees will be posted to the website. The chart attached on page 43 of the report details the proposed 2023-24 budget calendar. If I can direct you to page 43, I'll highlight just a couple of the dates. An information session for the Board of Trustees is scheduled for April 11th of 2023. And further down, you can see that the public budget consultation webcast is scheduled for April 26th, 2023. And these dates are in the trustees' calendars, and they will be sent to administrators at schools for purposes of planning Catholic School Council meetings around specifically the public consultation date. Overall, it is important to note that Dufferin Peel will be planning a budget for 2023-24 while having an accumulated deficit position and operating within a multi-year financial recovery plan. Public consultation and reports to that fact will be opportunities for information sharing of that information. So I'm happy to take any questions on the report before you this evening.
Oh, thank you, Executive Superintendent Cherpaka. Are there any questions? Hearing no questions, seeing no questions. There is a motion on page 42 that reads that the Administration and Finance Committee recommend to the Board of Trustees approve the proposed 2023-2024 budget development process. Would someone like to move that?
So I move, Thomas.
Thank you, Trustee. I saw Daryl D'Souza's hand first. Any opposed? Hearing none. Thank you. That's carried. Item I, there's no notices of motion, and item J, there's no additional business this evening. So we move on to item K, which is questions asked of and by trustees. I will start a speaker list. I do have nobody yet. Are there any questions?
I have a question, Madam Chair, it's Mario.
Thank you. Go ahead, Trustee Mario Pascucci, and I see Trustee Bruno Ainica as well.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair. Daniel, Associate Director, could you please, I know that I'm asking this question regularly. I just want to see if there's any changes relative to St. Sophia, because we're getting towards the it's a substantial date in terms of February. It happened about a year ago. So, Daniel, do you have any information relative to current registration issues or anything of that nature? I just want to make sure the community knows if they're listening.
So through the chair, nothing has changed since the kind of the verbal
Yes.
response I provided last week. So just to recap,
2 weeks before that.
through the chair, the registration closed for JK. There's a cap of 60 at JK. I believe as of last week, we had 58 by the registration deadline. So there's a couple spots here and there. There's only 2 grades, I believe, that are below 60. We're just looking at a strategy to deal with those grades, and we'll be communicating further with the community. But in the interim, those 58 families that registered for JK have been informed that they are in for next year and that no lottery for them is required.
Through you, Madam Chair, one question, if I may.
Yes, go ahead.
Just briefly, Daniel, thank you. Thank you for that. And it was 2 weeks ago and 2 weeks before that as well. So, yeah, and I thank you for that. It would be worth our while to maybe put out put out communications to the community. Can you give it some thought with the director and your cohort, your partner,
So
David, to find out, just give them basically a status out there, community status out there for St. Sophia. If it's you think it's worthwhile doing.
no, absolutely. I mean, through the chair, we've committed to keeping the community informed.
Yes, we have.
So we actually have a meeting about kind of the next steps scheduled the next day or two, and that'll be one of the topics that we'll talk about as a communication strategy and an update strategy. So that is on our agenda to discuss, and
Excellent.
we definitely have to move forward with that.
Do you mind doing me a favor? Can you include all trustees, because it is a regional school, and then go from there? I know most of them come from Ward 4 and Ward 3. Most of them being the parents, but community. But if you can do that, it'd be appreciated, Daniel. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Trustee Pascucci. I have Trustee Bruno Iannica next, followed by Trustee Stefano Pascucci.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I know that the question was asked last week, so I don't expect concrete response. But can staff advise where they are and with regards to the procurement parent meeting? Is that something that will be done in February, March? We'll just have staff, because the later we get, then we run into Easter, then it's May, and then nobody will attend when the weather is better outside. So if staff could advise, it would be appreciated.
Of course, through the chair, we are working with Superintendent Wayne Brunton through the Central Committee for Catholic School Councils to put together a parent engagement evening information session. And our target at this point is mid-March. I don't have the exact date right now, but I believe it'll be around that time.
Perfect. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Well, thank you, Trustee
Thank you,
Iannica.
Julie.
Thank you. Trustee Stefano Pascucci.
Thank you, through Madam Chair. Sorry to pull up my questions here. Thank you. I have 2 questions, Madam Chair. The OSSLT and the EQAO are coming up. And I've heard from a couple of my schools that they're finding it difficult to have enough computers for their grade 9 or grade 10 class to do the whole, I guess, all at one time, or half now, half later, over a couple of days, whatever it is. Is it possible for us to look at and dare I say, borrowing computers from our other schools to bring them to our high school so that every student can, or at least more than half this class or whatever it is, can actually do the OSSLT or the EQAO at the same time? Is that a possibility?
Well, through the chair, I mean, whatever we need to do, we will do. I haven't heard anything from an administrator secondary yet. Typically, secondary schools have significantly more laptops and Chromebooks than elementary schools. If you are aware of any administrators that are experiencing a shortage, I would suggest you ask them to reach out to our CIO, Mike Damad.
Got it.
Mike, welcome back. And we will, like we always do, we'll make it happen. But I'm surprised to hear that a secondary school doesn't have enough.
It's not so
Chromebooks.
much, it's not so much having enough, it's having the correct equipment.
Sure.
Because some computers are well past their lifespan and they are very slow and not able to accommodate the app or whatever they put on there, the secure connection.
So through the chair again, I would suggest if you've come across any, ask them to reach out to Mike, and we
Okay.
will do what we need to do to make sure that everything runs smoothly.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair, my second question. When I was, how do I phrase this question? When teachers are provided, and I know I've asked this many years ago, I guess before COVID. Please refresh my memory here. Teachers are provided with a certain number of copies that they can print in a time, correct? Like within the year? Do you, Madam Chair, to staff? Anybody?
So through the chair, I believe that I don't know the exact number. To be quite
I'm
honest.
not looking for the exact number. I guess
Yeah.
the question is, if a teacher was to, because I'm seeing that my kids are bringing home a lot more homework now, and everything is photocopied, and every teacher's counting every single copy that they have, and it's not just for my school. I'm sure it's every other teacher. But if a teacher does a one-side or two-sided print, is that considered one print, like one piece of paper or two pieces of paper, or 1 1/3 papers or 1 1/2? How does it work?
So through the chair, I don't want to put. I'm honestly, I don't.
Okay.
I don't know, and we can provide that response.
And issue events, if you don't mind, is just because you always hear, I may not have enough copies for the school year, and then if they can't photocopy work for the kids to bring home for homework or whatever it is, notes, whatever it is, then our kids towards the end of the year are missing out on potentially learning something new or taking it home.
Through the chair, what I will say though is, I don't think there's ever a point where we say, sorry, you've hit your limit, therefore you shall no longer print anything and leave students without the ability to learn, right? I think that the limits are there for a purpose.
Okay.
But I see Director Mazzarato.
Yes, Director Mazzarato, go ahead, please. Oh, sorry. Sorry, Madam Chair.
All right, Mr. Chair.
I didn't mean to recognize Director Mazzarato. Go ahead, please. No.
While we would hope that teachers aren't being given a message that they've reached a limit, I can't say with confidence that isn't happening in our schools. Mm-hmm. So I would like an opportunity to raise it with the principals and make sure that they understand that the impact of, if they are putting limits on teachers, the impact on students, and that needs to be revisited.
And that's exactly it. And I appreciate that, Director Mazzarato. It's I understand we need to count every sheet of paper, and I understand that because every sheet of paper these days costs a lot more money than in 4 years ago. But our students shouldn't have to worry about trying to have a homework. Bad word to say. Don't tell my kids I said that. But I appreciate that, Director Mazzarato, and thank you, Associate Director Del Bianco.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
No problem. Trustee Bruno Inica, I see your hand raised.
Yeah, Madam Chair, just on a piggyback on Trustee Pascucci's question, but from a different perspective, with regards to outstanding Chromebooks, does staff have a general idea of where we are with the approximate general idea of how many Chromebooks are still outstanding from what we loaned out, not gave away?
Yeah, so through the chair, I think our final estimates that we are still following up with individual families, because the schools have done all their reconciliation. I think we're under 200 of the 50,000 or so that we sent out to the system.
Wow, that's impressive. That's impressive, very impressive. The next question that I have, Madam Chair, can staff advise when we're going to have that field report? Because I'm having parents from specific schools that are sports oriented ask about when they're going to get a turf field, and the response has always been by Trustee Del Rosario and I that this field report will be coming and funding is an issue. And leave it at that. So if staff can give us a general idea when that's going to come, then at least we have something to say to our communities.
So I'll take that through the chair. The anticipated timeline would be either the April or May Administration and Finance Committee report. We have been working with an external consultant on the report itself. The actual field work is completed, no pun intended, with respect to the content. We're just kind of at a point now where we're just reviewing the way that the report has been drafted, and we want to just sort of touch it up to make sure it's in a format that is going to be widely acceptable as it's presented to trustees. So we're targeting either the April or the May Administration and Finance report. And what we are doing is basically trying to capture highlights from each and every one of our secondary school fields in an easy to understand format for all of our trustees to be able to peruse.
And if I could, Madam Chair, will the report indicate what best suits that property?
Through the chair, there will be some language to indicate what options are available at a high level. Through the chair, I would just note that there would not be a specific directions as such. It would be more about the opportunities that could be available based on, for example, the size of the site, the location of the site, what other amenities may be nearby. But beyond that, it really won't go into a lot of specifics about exactly what the next step could be. That would be sort of outside the scope of the report.
So through the chair, though, just to further that, it will define, and I think one of the questions was, and Matthew mentioned it, is not only what could fit there, but what can't fit there. Right? What can't fit there? Because I know usually the question that comes our way is, can you fit an artificial turf field at school A, B, C, or D? And what the report does capture is that because of subground or subsurface heating or drainage, we cannot put an artificial turf field, or because of the size or configuration of the field, it just won't fit here. So it's going to address a lot of those questions. And as kind of we mentioned to trustees last time, we discussed this. This is really just a launching point in the discussion about what do we want to do ultimately, right? This is the raw data for everyone to walk away with, saying, okay, here's the inventory of our fields. Here's what potentially could be done. Here's definitely what can't be done. And now collectively, how are we going to move forward with some sort of field revitalization strategy? And what could that look like?
And Madam Chair, I'll reserve my next question for in camera,
Okay.
based on affordability and what's impeding our ability to possibly not move forward, but possibly move forward with not only that plan, but previous plans that we already have in place that may or may not come to fruition. So I'll ask that in camera once we move into camera.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Trustee Anika.
Thank you.
I
Madam Chair.
have Trustee Del Rosario next.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Trustee Bruno Anika, for mentioning that field question again. My question is, I think a year ago, I asked a question about one of my school not receiving the digital signs. And I thought there was a list or a schedule that the digital sign was going to happen last year or during the summer. But as of last night at one of my council meeting, it was raised again, and they said, well, we still haven't got our digital sign. Can you give us an update, please, of where it is now?
Sure. Through the chair, you are correct. We had embarked in 2022 as part of our facility renewal project list to undertake the installation of about 20 boulevard signs across the system. Unfortunately, we were also caught up with a few challenges in 2022, some of which were beyond our control, including having to complete projects that were funded by the federal and provincial government through the CIVRIS, or COVID Resilience Infrastructure Program, which had a very tight deadline that we had to meet, and those had to be expedited. And we also encountered issues with supply chain and getting some of our other renewal projects completed. We had hoped that we would be able to get to those LED boulevard signs in the fall, but as the weeks progressed through the fall, it was decided to just defer them into 2023. So as a result, those projects are on the 2023 facility renewal list. I have instructed General Manager Mariah and our Manager of Capital and Facilities Renewal, Chris Sagar, who's also joining us this evening, to make sure that we expedite those and prioritize those, so that those schools who should have received signs in 2022 will indeed get them in 2023. But it will unfortunately also result in a delay to other schools receiving their signs by a year as well down the line.
Through the chair, thank you, Superintendent Thomas. When you're saying 2023, we are in 2023 now. Can you provide us roughly an idea when in 2023 it's going to start? And would you be able to send us, the trustees, a list of when the tentative schedule is going to be?
So through the chair, we usually provide trustees every year with a copy of our overall facility renewal projects list for the year. We're in the sort of home stretch, if you will, of finalizing that list for the coming year. A lot of the work, the bulk of our work, happens during the summer months, just because it's our best opportunity to be able to go into schools when they're empty and do a lot of that major renewal work with minimal disruption to the school. With respect to the school signs, it's either going to be summer or fall. At this point, we haven't landed on the specifics, but I can assure you that as soon as we have a schedule, we'll be sure to distribute that schedule to the trustees so that they're aware.
Okay, so thank you very much. So you're in the home stretch, so we hope to see the list soon. Thank you very much, Superintendent Thomas. Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome. Thank you, Trustee Del Rosario. Are there any other questions this evening? Hearing none, seeing none, I am at the end of my speaker list. Item L, we don't have any declared interest items. So item N is in camera. So can I please have a motion to move in camera?
So I move, Thomas.
Thank you, Trustee Thomas. Any opposed? Hearing none, carried. So at this time, we'll just pause. We'll maybe take a 10-minute break, and just to ensure we've moved into in camera before proceeding. And for the members of the public who are joining us this evening via teleconference, you'll be placed in the virtual waiting room until our meeting resumes in the open session. But if you're not able to stay online until we return, then we thank you for joining us this evening, and we wish you a good night. So trustees and staff will resume at 8:40. And back to you, Associate Director Del Bianco.
Sure. Thank you. And through the chair, you'll all receive an invite to join in camera meeting room right now. So we'll see everybody shortly.
Thank you. Marita, you can let us know when we're good to go.
Well done there tonight. yeah.
You're good to go now.
Excellent. All right. Welcome back to the public session of our Administration and Finance Committee. Our Rise and Report item during the in-camera session, trustees approved minutes of the in-camera session of January 19th, 2023. We received a verbal report regarding a personnel matter and addressed questions of an in-camera nature. Can I have a motion of approval for the Rise and Report?
Daryl?
Thank you. Moved by trustee Daryl D'Souza. Any opposed? Hearing none. Carried. Motion to adjourn tonight's meeting at 10:14 p.m. Moved by
Daryl again?
thank you, trustee Daryl D'Souza. Anyone at all? Anyone opposed? Hearing none. Carried. Once again, thanks to our members of the public for joining us this evening. And as always, our trustees and staff, we appreciate everyone's attendance. Our next Administration and Finance Committee meeting will be held on March 7th. Good night, everyone. God bless.
Bye-bye.